Hi everyone. So we were seeing about the structure and function of forest ecosystem. As I said, it is having biotic components, abiotic components. So biotic components means we will be having producers, consumers and decomposers, right? So in the forest, what are the different types of producers apart from trees, like shrubs, means very dominant species of trees and all we can see in the forest only, like acer, betula and pine, cedrus trees, this and all you can see in the forest. And the biotic components includes the like producers we have seen, and the different consumers or primary consumer, secondary consumer and tertiary consumer. Primary consumer or herbivores, which depends on the plants directly for food, like bugs, spiders, ants, everything we can see. And the larger animals like elephant, giraffe, everything you can see, they are also dependent on producers only. Secondary consumer means like they feed, they depends on the primary consumer, like lizard, frog, snake, fox, everything comes under secondary consumer. Tertiary consumer means they are the secondary carnivores, and they include tiger, lion, like lion and tiger. They depend on only the secondary consumers. So in the biotic we have primary consumer, secondary consumer and tertiary consumer. Overall we had producers also. And the decomposers will be having the decomposers are like bacteria, fungi, okay. Streptomyces means acetinomyces, means what, it depends upon the dead and dead organisms. It eats only the dead and decayed organisms. They what they will do means they will they will just have the nutrients in the dead organisms. Whatever available, they will just consume the nutrients. And abiotic components. Abiotic components means the organic and inorganic substance. And in addition to the dead organic debris, it is found that, there are few more substances in the forest that comes under this category. So here I have given different images for prime producers, consumers and decomposers. See, different plants and consumers in the forest ecosystem you can see, and finally the decomposers in the forest ecosystem, right. So we already knew that biotic components means which produces food, right, and even the consumers also comes under this category. So in the grassland, now we are just going to see about the in the grassland ecosystem what are the biotic components and what are the abiotic components and everything. So in the grassland ecosystem, herbs, shrubs, this and all comes under the primary production of biomass. And the most common species also, like cyanodon, we have given some examples. And in this grassland ecosystem, see, whatever may be the ecosystem, whatever we have to categorize it into a biotic components and abiotic components. So in the biotic components, there are like a primary consumer, secondary consumer and tertiary consumers. Primary consumers, they are like herbivores, which feeds directly on the grasses, right. For example, cow, buffalo, sheep, goats, deer, rabbits, etc. Besides them, there are like lot of insects. But in the secondary consumer, you can see the carnivores, which feeds on that feed on primary consumers for food, means herbivores. Example is like frogs, snakes, lizards, birds, fox, jackal, etc. And finally, tertiary consumer means which feed on the secondary consumer is said as the tertiary consumers. So again, in the grassland ecosystem, The decomposers means we already knew that it's bacteria and fungi. Again we have biotic and abiotic components. So in the grassland ecosystem, the producers, consumers and decomposers you can see in the presentation. So grasses you can see in the producer part, and the rabbit, snake, everything comes under the consumers, and finally the decomposers like mushrooms you can see. And the next one is the desert ecosystem. Desert ecosystem means it's the region that has no participation, means no that doesn't have that plants. Deserts are defined as an area with annual participation is less than 250 millimeters per year. So around the 17 percentage of earth is occupied by deserts, but but it is categorized as very hot in the days and very cold in the nights. So deserts are located in the southwestern United States, means Mexico, North. Okay, so in the desert, what it will it doesn't have the human participation or even the plants, animals, anything. So again in the desert ecosystem also we have biotic component and abiotic component. So biotic component consists of primary organisms, producers, consumers, decomposers. So producers means like very few grasses and very few species, and very hardy grasses and all comes under this category. Whereas in the consumer means which is capable of living in this condition, and there are some birds and mammals like camels, right? They live in the deserts only. And decomposers means due to poor vegetation with they will be very poor vegetation, so they will be depending upon the dead organic matter, like again bacteria and fungi. So abiotic component means because of this high temperature and very low rainfall, the organic substance are rarely found or very poorly found in this soil. And next one is freshwater ecosystem. Again the freshwater ecosystem is having biotic components and abiotic component. It includes submerged, free floating, in the freshwater you can see hydrilla, azolla, typha, like this very macrophytes and all we can see. And very suspended lower phytoplanktons we can see in the water. This and all coming under producers. Consumers means like we again have primary consumer, secondary consumer and tertiary consumer. So primary consumer example means benthos, zooplanktons, this and all. And secondary consumer means the insects which eats this one, primary consumers. And tertiary consumer means large fishes and feeding on the small fishes is said as tertiary consumers. And finally decomposers means bacteria, fungi, acetinomycetes. So this and all comes under decomposers. So the abiotic component of freshwater ecosystem is like these are like inorganic and organic substance both we have actually by the bottom soil present in the water. When it is dissolved, some dead organic matter also been present over here. So there are abiotic component in the freshwater. And the next ecosystem is marine or ocean ecosystem. Again the marine or ocean ecosystem is said to be like aquatic system. So again we have 71 percentage of earth's surface. We have gigantic reservoirs and all. So this marine or ocean ecosystem are very different from freshwater ecosystem because of these are very salty, whereas freshwater is not that salty. Again we have biotic components and abiotic components in the marine or ocean ecosystem. So in the biotic component we have producer, consumer and a decomposer. Producers have phytoplanktons, seaweeds, everything, mangrove vegetation, everything is possible.